Hello there, it's midnight and you're watching Nightline with me, Anita. The headlines. Interstate travel allowed for the fully vaccinated from Monday. And no more blanket MCO if new cases go up, assures PM. Our headlining story, the nation's COVID-19 vaccination rate involving adult population has reached 90%. With this, after a 9-month ban on interstate travel, it will be allowed starting October 11th, that's Monday. However, the Prime Minister stressed in his televised announcement on Sunday afternoon that this is only meant for those who have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19.
Dengan mencapainya 90% vaksinasi 2 dos untuk kumpulan ataupun di bawah kategori dewasa ini, maka sekali lagi saya nak maklumkan, saya mengumumkan bahawa rentas negeri dibenarkan oleh pihak kerajaan. Dan kebenaran ini, kebebasan ini akan bermula pada hari besok. Jadi besok bebaslah, dan inilah sebenarnya yang ditunggu-tunggukan oleh masyarakat. Seperti saya sebutkan tadi, peringkat awalnya kita terpaksa tegas dari segi soal pergerakan rentas negeri ini, tapi seperti yang dijanjikan sudah sampai 90% vaksinasi, maka mulai besok bolehlah rakyat, warga Malaysia, keluarga Malaysia untuk melakukan pergerakan.
He pointed out that although there will be no roadblocks set up by police specifically for interstate travel, police will conduct random inspections anytime and anywhere, including at rest and service areas or R&Rs, to ensure that those who travel have already been fully vaccinated. Interstate travel has been banned since January 13th. More good news for the fully vaccinated. The restriction to travel abroad has been lifted from Monday. The Prime Minister said they can travel overseas without applying for permission. Prior to this, Malaysians had to apply for My Travel Pass approval for travel out of the country.
Bebas melancong keluar negara, dan sebelum balik, yang pertama mesti membuat swab test saringan, swab di luar negara 3 hari sebelum pulang ke tanah air, dan setibanya di negara, di lapangan terbang dan sebagainya, di pintu masuk negara juga perlu membuat swab test. Dan selepas itu ditempatkan di pusat kuarantin. Walaupun bagaimanapun, untuk warga kita, kuarantin telah pun dibenarkan di rumah.
International travel was previously only permitted for Malaysians due to business, educational, medical purposes, and as well as official government matters. The Prime Minister, however, said this does not mean that Malaysian borders have been reopened for international tourism.
Kita masih lagi belum membuka negara kita kepada pelancong asing setakat ini. Kita sedang membuat kajian. Kita sedang membuat kajian tentang kemasukan ini, dan insya-Allah mungkin kita akan umumkan dalam waktu yang terdekat. Tetapi setakat hari ini pintu masuk negara kita masih belum dibuka kecuali yang melibatkan kecemasan, ya, yang melibatkan perniagaan dan juga yang melibatkan official yang rasmi. Jadi itu kita benarkan. Tetapi untuk pelancong masih belum kita buka.
The Prime Minister was also asked what the government's contingency plan is should there be a spike in new COVID-19 cases.
Walaupun kes mungkin akan meningkat, tetapi kita fokus kepada kawasan yang kes saja. Jadi jangan bimbang. Saya tahu ada yang mengatakan bahawa kalau kes meningkat, maka kita akan tutup semula seperti dulu. Saya nak yakinkan bahawa perniagaan, kehidupan kita mesti teruskan seperti biasa, walaupun kita akan menutup kawasan-kawasan tertentu. Tetapi kita boleh pastikan tidak ditutup pun kalau kita semua patuh kepada SOP yang ditetapkan oleh kerajaan.
Meanwhile, the lifting of restrictions on interstate travel would not be implemented in Sabah on Monday. Sabah COVID-19 spokesperson Datuk Masidi Manjun said the state's adult population vaccination rate has yet to reach 90%, which is the prerequisite of the federal government's decision in allowing interstate travel. However, the government will decide whether to lift restrictions on interstate travel in a meeting on Wednesday.
Berkuat kuasa besok. Jadi maknanya Sabah belum berkuat kuasa besok lah.
Tidak. Kita belum mendengarkan pergerakan bebas.
Oh, jadi Sabah terkecuali daripada apa yang diumumkan oleh Perdana Menteri sebentar tadi.
Kita mau kekalkan yang ada sekarang sehingga kabinet memutuskan pada hari Rabu ini kerana kita belum mencapai syarat itu. Kalau kita pergi kepada laporan awal, syarat yang ditetapkan ialah 90% jumlah penduduk Malaysia telah mendapat vaksinasi lengkap. Sabah baru 65%.
So, kita memakai jumlah untuk Sabah itulah bukan Malaysia, Datuk. Kita ambil kira Sabah punya itulah kan, tunggu Sabah.
Maksudnya perbandingannya agak jauh sekali. 90 dan 65 adalah dua angka yang berbeza.
Datuk Masidi said Sabah is currently still under the travel movement control based on zoning system and inter-district control for districts not included in the zoning system. Meanwhile, the restrictions on interstate travel in Sabah will only be lifted after reaching 70% vaccination rate. To lift both domestic and international travel simultaneously means more good news for the nation's economy, and that while everyone self-regulates and complies with the preventive measures.
The permission to allow interstate travel is definitely music to our ear. This would result in a more freely human mobility, although one has to be mindful on the risk of infection. Domestic tourism would be the immediate beneficiary. Last year, we have seen domestic tourism expenditure plunging to RM 40.4 billion from 103.2 billion in the preceding year. Going forward, we can expect such performance could be turned around. The abolishment of travel pass would certainly help to improve tourism-related industries, such as aviation, hotels, food and beverages. In a nutshell, such announcement will be GDP accretive in the periods to come.
As for the manufacturing sector, the Prime Minister's announcement on Sunday paves the way for the economy to rebound as manufacturing activities will continue to improve.
The removal of the travel restrictions for fully vaccinated individuals in this very critical period would stimulate greater economic activities, which in turn would boost consumption spending, ensure job security, and more importantly, enhance business sustainability for medium and long-term growth. The fast and large-scale vaccination drive, together by the government with continued adherence to standard operating procedures by the rakyat, have enabled the reopening and revival of the economy.
Tan Sri Soh also went on to say that with this development, it was also time to move to the endemic phase, with every stakeholder taking equal responsibility to ensure the success of the effort.
We commend the government's plan to move the country into an endemic phase from the current COVID-19 pandemic status and agree it is everyone's effort to test, report, isolate, inform and seek TRIIS treatment to curb the spread. Indeed, targeted testing is already in place for many companies as part of their business continuity plan based on their own risk assessments and management, which is an effective approach to pick up positive cases and trigger the necessary tracing, isolation and treatment protocols.
Industry players, meanwhile, have welcomed the Prime Minister's announcement to lift domestic and international travel for the fully vaccinated, calling it a timely move. For the Malaysian Association of Tour and Travel Agents, MATA, the move will rejuvenate travel both interstate and abroad.
We welcome the opening of interstate travel as it will definitely have a positive impact on domestic tourism. It's a timely move by the government. We hope SOPs can be standardized. The industry looks forward to resumption of international travel, especially for business and the leisure segment. Hopefully, this will pave the way for international tourist arrivals to Malaysia. We also welcome the abolishment of the My Travel Pass. It is a natural step as we move towards treating COVID as an endemic.
And with anticipation of the reopening of the nation's borders to foreign visitors by year-end, preparations are already underway to welcome them into the country. Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri said her ministry has been engaging with its overseas counterparts and also those in the airline industry. The minister said with the lifting of restrictions on interstate travel, more local tourist spots will be opened for travellers to visit. While launching the Travel Safe Alliance, TSA, in Langkawi on Sunday, Datuk Sri Nancy said the technical committee will improve the existing standard operating procedures, SOPs, on this. TSA Malaysia will provide end-to-end safe travel solutions to travellers and uphold Malaysia as the preferred travel and business events destination in the global market. She said the facility is a timely move to facilitate and enhance Malaysia's leisure and business tourism in line with the government's vision to increase tourist arrivals and receipts in the country. As the country moves towards the endemic phase, the tourism sector is all geared up to resume tourism operations. Our reporter Hakim Azman has the details.
Malaysian Association of Tour and Travel Agents, MATA Secretary General Nigel Wong Chun Taim, said the country's transition into the endemic phase is very strategic as Malaysia is one of the ASEAN countries that has managed to obtain 90% vaccination of the adult population. He said with that achievement, Malaysia can really capitalize on the reopening of the tourism sector and reconstructing the country's economy.
Moving forward, the government needs to look at standardizing all of this, ensuring that the whole nation there is an understanding, clear understanding of what is allowed. Then the government needs to work on reopening or re-establishing international travel, right? And standardizing of all these SOPs is the first step.
Wong also urged for a special fund to help tourism organizations to revive their businesses. He said the funding under the National Economic Recovery Plan Penjana, which is facilitated through the banks, has not been successful due to the stringent and in some cases restrictive criteria. Meanwhile, Malaysian Association of Hotel Owners Executive Director Shaharuddin Muhammad Said said the government must take necessary action in providing and protecting the tourism sector.
The government must really make it a serious effort to help us out in terms of financing support, in terms of giving wage subsidies and helping us with all the financial obligations that we have to comply with and pay every month.
Shaharuddin hopes the government will consider a range of relief packages in the upcoming 2022 budget to support tourism operator recovery. He said the tourism sector cannot afford to have another lockdown or the industry will collapse and the country's economy will be severely affected. It is not often the tourism sector gets a ray of hope to boost and reestablish its operation and revenue after months of economic drought. Therefore, the government must seize this opportunity to solidify the industry to speed up the country's economic recovery. Hakim Azman for Nightline TV3.
Coming up after this break, man found dead with slash wounds in rented room. This and more when we return. Back still on Nightline. The Health Ministry plans to establish a national centre of excellence for mental health to educate and help people affected by mental illnesses. Its Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the centre would not only function as a research centre but also as an easy access point for mental health related matters.
Pusat Kecemerlangan Nasional Kesihatan Mental. Yeah, there was at one point in time talk of an institute for mental health, but we'll call it a national center for excellence for mental health. Not just research, but also a place for us to really have a state-of-the-art as well as an accessible place for people to come for their mental health issues.
Khairi said this during the launch of the Mental Health Strategic Plan 2020 to 2025 and the Let's Talk Minda Sehat media campaign conducted virtually in conjunction with World Mental Health Day on Sunday. He noted it was the ministry's long-term policy to improve the country's mental health services, and the policy was prepared by mental health experts by taking into account input from various stakeholders. On mental health in the country, he said the National Health and Morbidity Survey report found the prevalence of depression amongst Malaysian people aged 16 years old and above standing at 2.3%. It is estimated that almost 500,000 individuals aged 16 years old and above experience depression. He also noted that the government will invest more to improve the features of the MySejahtera app to include mental health screening as well as accessibility to treatment and counsellors. The Johor Bahru Magistrates Court on Sunday upheld the decision to acquit and discharge a saleswoman of reckless driving, which resulted in the death of 8 teenagers on modified bicycles, commonly known as basikal lajak, 4 years ago. This was after the prosecution failed to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt. The decision on the appeal was made by Magistrate Siti Hajar Ali after Sam Kerr Ting, 26, was ordered to enter her defence at the High Court in February. In her judgment, Siti Hajar said, after examining all the evidence, the court decided that the prosecution had failed to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt, and therefore the accused is acquitted and discharged at the end of the defence case. Siti Hajar said her decision took into account the reasonable testimony of the accused that she had no knowledge of the riding activities in the area and that there was no warning on such activities. On February 18th this year, the High Court ordered Sam to enter her defence after the prosecution proved a prima facie case against the accused, thus setting aside the order made by the Magistrates Court in October 2019 to acquit and discharge her. Selangor police are seeking anyone with information on a case of a 43-year-old man who was found dead in his rented room in Taman Serdang Utama, Sri Kembangan on Saturday. Serdang District Police Chief ACP AA Anbalagan said the victim was found with slash wounds believed to have been murdered. Police received a distress call from a woman at 6:13 p.m, informing them that a man was found dead in his room. He added that the victim was a furniture shop assistant who had been renting the room for the past 5 years. The house he was living in had several makeshift rooms separated by partitions, rented out to other tenants as well. The case has been classified as murder. Over in Sabah, the body of a woman who was reported missing after she was attacked by a crocodile in a river at Kampung Serudung, Laut Kalabakan on Saturday was found early Sunday morning. The remains of 22-year-old Fosanih binti Nansel was found at 8 a.m. by villagers. Tawau Fire and Rescue Operation Chief Zainal Putra Nuadin said villagers found the victim's body some 300 meters from where she was first reported missing on October 10th. He said fire and rescue personnel helped to carry the body out from the water and handed it to the police for further action. Coming up right after this breather, Russian plane carrying parachutists crashes, 16 killed. Don't go away. We're back with news on the foreign front. Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen said on Sunday Taiwan will not bow to pressure and would resist annexation in an apparent rebuff of a call by Chinese President Xi Jinping for peaceful cross-strait reunification. Tsai also called for the maintenance of the political status quo in her National Day forthright speech, which acknowledged rising pressure from China.
在这里，我要重申，台湾愿意为区域的和平发展贡献一己之力。在两岸关系上的立场，我们善意不变，承诺不变，维持现状就是我们的主张。我们也会全力阻止现状被片面改变。
Tsai also warned that Taiwan's situation had become more complex and fluid than at any other point in the past 72 years, and that Beijing's routine sorties into Taiwan's air defense identification zone had seriously affected national security and aviation safety. She further said that Taiwan would continue to bolster its defenses and demonstrate its determination to defend itself to ensure that nobody could force Taiwan to take the path Beijing had laid out. In Russia, investigators have launched a probe after a plane carrying a group of parachute jumpers crashed after takeoff in Tatarstan region early on Sunday, killing 16 people and injuring 6. According to Tatarstan's governor, Rustam Minikhanov, the L-410 plane was carrying 22 people, including 2 crew members, when it crashed at around 9:23 a.m. local time near the town of Menzelinsk. Minikhanov said the pilots reported that their left engine had failed and attempted an emergency landing near the city of Menzelinsk, trying to turn the plane leftward to avoid an inhabited area. But the aircraft's wing hit a Gazelle vehicle as the plane landed, causing it to be overturned. The investigative committee, which probed serious crimes, said it had opened a criminal investigation into a suspected violation of safety regulations. Over in Italy, riot police clashed with dozens of people who gathered in the streets of Rome to protest the government's new COVID-19 green passes. The certification in Italy, known as a green pass, is set to take effect on 15th October and requires people to have either had a COVID-19 vaccine or a recent negative test to access public and private workplaces. Both employees and employers risk fines if they don't comply. Workers in the public sector can be suspended if they show up 5 times without a green pass. During the summer, green passes were already required in Italy to enter museums, theatres, gyms and indoor restaurants, as well as to take long-distance trains and buses or domestic flights. Rai State TV said demonstrators numbered at least 10,000, while organisers said they numbered 100,000. Similar protests took place Saturday in other Italian cities, including Milan and Trento. Back with sports news now. Tennis, the BNP Paribas Open. Russian star Daniil Medvedev consolidated his status as tournament favourite following a resounding straight sets win against American Mackenzie McDonald to reach the third round. Medvedev put on a dominant display right from the start as he dispatched his opponent 6-4 before taking the second set 6-2 to seal his place in the next round. The world number 1 will next face Serbian Filip Krajinovic for a place in the last 16. In another match, Medvedev's compatriot Andrei Rublev advanced to the third round after battling past Spaniard Carlos Taberner in straight sets. The Russian recorded a 6-3, 6-4 win to set a third-round match against American Tommy Paul. Meanwhile, in the women's class, 2019 champion Bianca Andreescu withstood a strong charge from American Alison Risk to advance to the third round, marking a triumphant return to the tournament that sparked her career ascension over 2 years ago. In their first career meeting, Andreescu and Risk battled through a tough opening set that saw each woman break just once. But Andreescu's consistent return pressure kept the former world number 4 on the front foot as she dispatched her opponent 7-6, 5-7, 6-2. Over in Germany, a new exhibit held in an unused Berlin casino is combining art and technology to create an artist's fun house featuring tape art, 3D renderings on smart devices and street art all under one roof. Let's have a look. I'm Anita Wu. Thank you for tuning in and be well, Malaysia.